The Stonewall riots is one of the most famous acts of queer resistance in America. So much so that the phrase, threw the first brick, as in threw the first brick at Stonewall, has entered the mainstream lexicon to mean someone who did something first, iconically and often in a comedic context. What about who threw the first coffee at Compton's cafeteria riot? Who had the first sip at Julius's bar? Welcome to Horny History, where we dive into the politics of pleasure, gender, and culture, and how it's evolved from the past to the present. Today, we're not going to talk about Stonewall, but instead other moments of queer resistance in American history you may not have known about. In 1966, a group of trans women in San Francisco stood up to police inside of Gene Compton's cafeteria, an all-night restaurant and also popular queer gathering spot. The spot was also popular with police officers who wanted to harass queer people. Fed up with the abuse that night, a trans woman is to have said to thrown a cup of coffee in a police officer's face, sparking a chaotic riot, an unprecedented moment of trans resistance to police violence. It's said that drag queens and trans women poured into the streets, fighting off officers with the back of their high heels and purses. 3 years before the Stonewall riots, Dick Leitch organized the nation's first sip-in. Inspired by the sit-ins at segregated lunch counters in the South, Leitch wanted to use that method to protest anti-gay discrimination at bars. At the time, the New York State Liquor Authority had discriminatory policies that revoked the licenses of bars that served known or suspected gay men or lesbians, shutting down many gay bars as a result. Leitch and other activists arrived at Julius's bar, identified themselves as gay, ordered drinks, and as according to plan, were denied service. With the support of the ACLU in New York and heavy coverage by local newspapers, they could move forward with legal action against the State Liquor Authority. In the following court case, the court ruled in favor of the Mattachine Society. It said that people have a right to peacefully assemble, and therefore the State Liquor Authority could not prevent gay people from gathering in bars. At the height of the AIDS epidemic, the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, or ACT UP, held a demonstration in the financial district in New York City. About 250 protesters called for corporate and government action to end the AIDS crisis, which at that point had been going on for 5 years. The group specifically targeted the FDA and the pharmaceutical company that manufactured the only approved AIDS drug at the time, which was overpriced and many people living with HIV or AIDS could not afford. Soon after the demonstration, the FDA announced that it would shorten its drug approval process by 2 years, a process that could normally take up to 9 years, a length of time which many living with HIV or AIDS would not survive. On May 21st, 1979, former police officer Dan White received an extremely lenient sentence for the assassinations of the first openly gay elected official in California and gay rights activist Harvey Milk and Mayor George Moscone, only being charged with voluntary manslaughter. Thousands of members of the predominantly gay Castro district in San Francisco took to the streets in protest, initially beginning as a peaceful march but then escalating. The events caused hundreds of thousands of dollars of property damage to City Hall. The gay community grew their political power following these events, which resulted in the election of Mayor Dianne Feinstein, who then appointed a pro-gay chief of police. Thank you for joining yet another installment of Horny History. Stay tuned for more on the history of birth control and how oil prices can affect the cost of your vibrator.